Started noticing what was happening in the digital music world, and through a network and a serendipitous meeting, I met a guy by the name of Christopher Celeste, who was pretty much in the same place that I was. Had just left something that he expended a great deal of energy in, had a high degree of success in, and was kind of between things. He was consulting, I was consulting, and we actually got asked to sit at separate sides of the table with an investor group around an idea. I was being asked by the investor group to evaluate the idea. It happened to be an IBOC, a digital radio play, which is what I was consulting, and these guys knew that, and he was consulting the startup. And I shot the idea, shot holes in it, and at the end of the meeting, he called me up and said, "I really appreciate how you articulated and gave some really great constructive criticism. Let's get together." So he and I got together, and you asked about the culture and was it planned or did it here at Findaway, and I said very much planned. And it was evident from the day that we got together by John Carroll, Arabica there, that our core values were just in total alignment. And we knew that, okay, he has a set of talent, I have a set of talent, we complement each other well. Now, what's the big idea? What are we going to do? We want to do something. So we spent 3 months just, having coffee and talking about it and thinking about things. And his background was in technology marketing. He stepped away as president of a company called Resource Interactive, doing marketing work for Apple, all online interactive. Apple and HP and Ford, I mean, you name it, they were, and still are today. They're about a 400 person interactive firm. He was president of that business. He ended up back in Cleveland for family reasons, and so his background worked well around technology and marketing. My background in really technology and content and the consumer, we started seeing what was happening in the music download space. The iPod was starting to gain traction. This was 2003. iTunes was just launching, and we said that it was actually when Walmart announced that they were going to do 88-cent downloads. People still weren't downloading, but the whole world, it was like, okay, downloads are going to get commoditized now before consumers have even begged for them. There's this whole shift and this whole wave coming, and so we recognized that, and we launched a company in the music download space. And as we were pitching customers, we were recognizing that the technology and the consumer gap wasn't closed. People were having a hard time downloading music. They weren't really the habits weren't formed, and so we stayed nimble and changed. And when some customers started asking us for preloading the digital content into a player, we started looking at the world of players out there, of music, players of the playback technology, and recognized, boy, we could build one of these things for $25, $24, around that range. And that really, and about that time, at the same time, we were looking for investment. And right at that moment, we had, through a mutual friend, again, another networking thing, had met the husband and wife of a highly successful, probably one of Cleveland's biggest entrepreneurial stories, a company called Matrix Essentials. The company had sold, the daughter and the husband had spent some time just having fun and enjoying their personal life, and then had decided to recreate some of the entrepreneurial energy that was around Matrix, and started a fund with a third partner, a guy by the name of Mitch Kroll. We all connected, we loved our energy, and they brought to the table the whole consumer products experience. Mitch's background, he was in the manufacturing team at Matrix. So we just had this whole convergence and this idea sitting in front of the customer, and this whole notion of preloading digital content onto a player and taking that out in the market. And when we first started, we were looking at music. We hadn't even really stumbled upon audio books, which is the primary source of content that we have today. Audio books, we had this idea, and we knew that it had value, but we recognized there wasn't the economic engine inside music to sustain it. So we looked at the audio book marketplace, billion-dollar market. Majority of the population was still using cassettes, so it was in need of some technology evolution or change. And so we had a little piece of plastic, and we started going around to publishing houses. HarperCollins was our first visit.
What do you mean when you say a piece of plastic?
Well, we had this idea of this preloaded player where the content was locked down, and it was tangible, physical, digital content. And to be able to articulate what that is, we had a little model. This isn't it, but it was just and we put it on the desk of the publisher and say, imagine if this had a label on it and it had your audiobook in it, and all the consumer had to do was plug in earbuds or plug it into the computer speakers, simply press play, and they got it. They understood the value proposition because they were struggling with digital downloads, they were struggling with 12 CDs, and they were open and looking for new methods to carry their content out into the marketplace. So they bought into it, the publishers did, and so we said, great, we've got some publishers on the audiobook side. Well, we better go figure out the retail side, the other side of the coin. Went and met with through network and friends. Went and met with the CEO of Borders at the time. Had the same piece of plastic and said, imagine patrons walking in the door, and instead of buying this box of 12 CDs for the same price, they can get this one little digital player. He said, all my stores are yours, tell me what you want. And so then when we came home from converging of the content and the outlet to hit the consumer, we said, okay, now we need to build something. Uh-oh. And it was, we had made commitments to Borders to ship at holiday time, which means you're basically in their district, their DCs, the distribution centers at the end of July, beginning of August. And this was January. So we had very little time to bring the product to market.